Can you believe it? The Audi Q3 has been on sale since 2012. Yes, it's been that long. So you really have to give it to the guys at Audi India for keeping the baby SUV really relevant and fresh over the years. They brought in facelift, they've brought in updates, and at one point there was even a 200 horsepower plus petrol version. Of course, who can forget the diesel manual that really brought in the numbers? What I have with me today are two of the three new versions of the Q3 that take the story forward. Let's see them in a bit more detail. The latest Q3 range refresh is accompanied by a mild facelift, the second in 2 years. Distinguishing the 2017 Q3 is the redesigned front bumper that gets larger air inlets and a more generous dose of plastic cladding. There are also new streaks on the plastic door runners. 17-inch alloy wheels, LED headlamps and LED tail lamps with dynamic indicators that swipe in the direction of the turn are standard across the range. In all, the Q3 remains a handsome small SUV, if less flashy than Mercedes-Benz's GLA. There are no major changes to report of from the cabin. The Q3 carries forward with the same neat dashboard and generally user-friendly interior. Quality is up there with more expensive Audis, and the ambience inside is what you'd expect in a premium SUV. You sit reasonably high up in a Q3, the front seats are generous in size and support, and even the rear seat is spacious enough for two adults to sit in comfort. With this update, Audi has rejigged the powertrains on offer and also streamlined the variants. The Q3 range starts with the all-new Petrol 30 TFSI that is sold only in premium trim. Next up is the Diesel 30 TDI that is also available only in premium trim. The range-topping 35 TDI diesel is offered in Premium Plus and fully loaded technology form. What is nice is that goodies like a panoramic sunroof and electrically adjustable front seats are standard across the range. However, you should be willing to spend big for the technology version if you want paddle shifters, onboard navigation, a reverse camera and a color multi-info display in the instrument's binnacle. As before, the Q3 runs Audi's MMI infotainment system. It is easy enough to use, but the interface doesn't look as slick as that in the newer Audis, and there's no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay support either. Let's get to the mechanicals and start with the red Q3 here. This is the all-new 30 TFSI version and it uses a 150 HP 4-cylinder 1.4-litre turbo petrol engine. This is the third Audi to use this engine, but there's no cylinder-on-demand technology here. Also important to note is that the Petrol Q3 is front-wheel drive only with power sent to the wheels via a 6-speed dual clutch gearbox. Let's see how it's on the road. If you were primarily interested in the Q3 petrol for the added benefits of refinement over the Q3 diesel, well, you will like this version quite a bit. When you're starting out or at low speeds, and especially when you are in comfort and efficiency modes of the Drive Select program, you will find that the engine and gearbox keep revs low, and as a result decibel levels also stay low, which is nice because it makes the cabin a nice and hushed place to be. It's just that when you provoke the engine as such, get it into the mid-range, it starts to sound a bit gravelly. Now, it never gets loud and you'll rarely hear it above the music playing on your audio player. Refinement is one aspect. How is the Q3 petrol on performance? 150 HP may not be a shining figure for a car of this class and at this price point, but you know what? It sort of works in the Q3. Now the engine makes most of its power in the mid-range, but even low down you have ready access to power and good performance on the whole. And the mid-range is particularly strong. It'll rev to 6000 RPM when you extend it fully. But what really brings the most out of the engine is the 6-speed gearbox. There are no paddle shifters here, but just use the gear lever, get the engine to where you want it in the rev range, and you are good to go. The short first 3 gears ensure brisk initial acceleration. The Q3 Petrol posted a respectable 9.3 second 0 to 100 kph time. Part of the package is Audi's Drive Select program with 4 drive modes, including an auto mode that alter engine, gearbox and steering characteristics. Unfortunately, the steering is a bit of a weak link here. The Q3 steering is light and easy to twirl, which makes it user-friendly in town. It's just that when you get to a nice and hilly section of road with lots of twists and turns, you won't get that same feeling of control as you'd like. The steering just doesn't weight up enough. Even in dynamic mode, you'll be left a bit wanting for more weight and just a feeling of connection with the steering wheel. And that's a shame because the Q3 is otherwise an agile handler. We also found the petrol Q3 didn't feel as sure-footed at higher speeds as the heavier diesel. And of course, there's only so far off-road you can go with the front-wheel drive setup. If you intend to go out exploring, it's the Quattro all-wheel drive equipped 35 TDI that you should be looking at. As before, the 35 TDI is powered by a 4-cylinder 2-litre turbo diesel engine, but Audi claims power is up 4%, taking the final figure to a stronger 184 HP. The 7-speed dual-clutch transmission has been tweaked as well. On the road, it all comes together rather well. I'll get to the performance numbers and figures in a bit, but from behind the wheel I can tell you that the new Q3 diesel doesn't necessarily feel 4% more powerful than the one it replaces. Now, don't take that as a bad thing because the old Q3 diesel and its engine was a rather nice unit. This one is just as punchy, performs really well, power is nice and accessible, and it also revs quite happily to its limiter. What also helps is the quick shifting 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. It's nice and responsive and just gives you all the power you need when you want it. Our test figures reveal the added power and updated gearbox has made the Q3 35 TDI marginally faster to 100 kph, but the performance gains are more notable in kickdown acceleration. Of the other things to bring up is refinement. Q3's 2-litre diesel engine isn't the quietest of diesel engines around. There is that little bit of drone in the mid-range, and it does also tend to get a bit fuzzy in the top end. But when you see it in light of the BMW X1's diesel engine or even the Mercedes GLA's diesel engine, this is the quietest of the lot. The diesel Q3 also gets a 3-mode drive select system, and things are their calmest in comfort. It goes without saying the engine gives its best in dynamic. Dynamic, it adds a bit of weight to the steering, and there is more feel than you do get on the front wheel drive Q3, but this is still not really connected driving experience. So the Q3 is not as involving to drive as a BMW X1 and doesn't have the flash value of a Mercedes GLA. But see it as a whole and the Q3 comes across as a very well-rounded package. It looks smart, feels premium and performs well in both petrol and diesel guises. Really, what's not to like? Well, the price. With prices starting off at 32.2 lakh rupees ex-showroom Delhi and topping off at 41.2 lakh rupees, the Q3 doesn't score well on the price to size ratio. Many will argue that for the price of an Audi Q3, you could get yourself a larger, more hardcore SUV. But if it's a small luxury SUV that you so desire, the Q3 is a great buy. The Q3 always was a worthy entry point to Audi's SUV lineup. The updated Q3 keeps the flag flying high.